Welcome everyone. Well, here's the unboxing of the actual battle arena. Now, what I've done here is there's lots of areas that this is taped on the bottom and around. I went along and cut all the tape in these areas. I also cut the strings here. This is all the stuff you're going to do. Depends on how interested you are saving the box. Right now, at this time, I want to save the box on this. I don't know if I'm going to keep that or not. Most of all, this right here is basically all extra advertising space. I'm not sure what's in there, but I am going to open that up right away now, and we'll take a look here to find out what's underneath here. Seems to me there isn't much. So I'm taking out this. Okay, here's the extras that you get with this particular unit. Here's the practice bag. I'm not sure what this is at this point. I think that's what the practice bag sits on. But we're going to open this up right now so that we can take a look at the instructions here. Now, this is a practice bag that hangs. There's a little clip here. Let me move this out of the way here. You can see how that's what's underneath here. This is the compartment right here. Let's take a look here of what you're getting. Player 1 and 2. This seems to be a type of a backdrop of sorts. Now, here's the instructions. Let me see if this... Well, these are the basic rules to how this actual game works. And how you actually use it in general. And on the back here, here's your collector's guide. Let's get this up close so people can see these things. Classics, Nightblade, Chuck Lee, Pride, Heart, Hyperlock, Axel, Buzzcut, Miss Shuki. Then we go over here to Wild Tide, Thunderwind, Aximus, Slam Granderson, a baseball type figure. Here's Tail Whip, which is a shark type figure. Then we go down to the epic level of players. White Wrath, Miss Slither, female, apparently fighting figure. Burnout, Big Stinky, Loco Grande, Shreddy Teddy, Toxinator, Strikeout, Crack Up, which is a clown figure. Now we get down to the ultra rares. So the ultra rares are Clutch Blaze. So these are ones that are hard to find, the figures, and of course, these are all kind of rated. Sun Shadow, Teddy Bear, Tear Bear, I guess that is. Twin Fang, Battle Mark, Fly Swat, Ultravolt, Dark Sting, Dead Breath. Looks like a cool one. Looks like it's glow in the dark. And here are the legendary figures. Mr. Splits, Bust Bling, Shout Down, wild looking figure. Irishi. Then we have Brad Badfoot, Starbreaker, and here's the rest of it. It goes in there. So it's a complete guide to all the figures, everything else. Let me see what this says here. This is apparently an assembly guide for the actual battle arena. And we're going to take all the pieces out here and actually go through this so you can see what's going on here. Scoreboard sliders, that's what I just showed you here. Shows you where the batteries are. Obviously, this runs on batteries. How you set things up. And there's two sides of this. Let me go ahead and take care of all this by unboxing it fully so we can actually see the pieces. You know, a lot of this is going to kind of be meaningless to you unless you have one of these and you're actually putting it together. But let's go in here and take. So as I said, I cut these. This now should come off of here relatively easy. Okay. And as most of the figures, let me see here. Okay, it looks like we've got some. I can actually find my knife. Here's my knife here. There's that plastic right here you have to cut so that you can release it from there. Let's see here. And this seems to be, again, it depends on how carefully you want to save the packaging. And it doesn't look like there's much to save here in terms of kind of keeping something and putting it back in there. Of course, we have this. Where does this... Okay, this seems to have a plastic top here. So, as most of these things are, they're quite packed well. This still is caught on here. I'm just going to go in. There we go. And we should be able to now release it from here. Now, get this out of the way. I think it's just confusing. And it tells you, of course, on here that underneath is where everything's at. Let's see if we can... These seem to be... At the bottom here, you want to undo these. These are actually taped at the bottom to hold it in place. As I said, that's, you know, it's a whole display there. Let me remove this properly so I don't break anything. So you do have to take that off of the bottom here. You can see how this was taped here, and that has to be removed. This is where your batteries go in. There also is an on and off. This is on Try Me, which is typical that you get in stores, which I guess uses less electricity. And then, of course, we're going to turn it on. See, when you turn it on, you get that whole arcade. And that's what they're trying to do here. It's an arcade thing. Let me go back under there again. Notice that it has your typical little screw here. You seem to have any kind of... And you can see these go together like that, and that's all part of the battling aspect of it. And you have your scorekeeper things here. this out of the way here. But when you turn it on, it goes through all that, which is kind of obvious. Now, as you see, these pull in and out, and this is what you do when you're, and you can go back and forth, in and out. So it gives you quite a bit of actual play. And I don't know if you should be able to hear it now. If I can get this camera straight, okay, so when you do this, you see, it's quite fun. They have some cool, it's not just hitting each other, it's actually, you get that sound aspect. And of course, when you make an actual hit to the right area, these things actually, I just saw here, these are actually, there's my knife here. These are actually still connected here. You got to take off these. There's quite a bit of unpacking here because this is quite a display with a lot of different pieces. So you want to make sure that you do all this or it just won't work. Apparently these are very tight. So let me pause as I go get some scissors. Okay, and it's good to note all these things. And, you know, you want to make sure you don't break anything. And a lot of times when you use a knife, you have to put pressure against it like I just did. That's a bad idea because you have a good potential to break the actual figure there. And both of these figures are kind of strapped in. So you have to go in there and cut them. I don't know if you can see that. But you can see this plastic right here. This needs to be taken off. But it needs to be cut off with scissors. If you put pressure against that, you certainly could cause damage and break something right off the bat. So, but it does come what appears to be other than that. Everything's attached. You have the figures are attached. So it looks like it. This is supposed to look like an arena, but more like a video machine. And of course, all your controls are here. And when you hit these figures and you score a hit, kind of cool, those sounds. And you only get that with the arena, by the way. You're not going to get that with all the other stuff. So obviously they have fun sounds there too. But when you hit the figure right, let me see here. Oh, there's more on here. Let me take the figure off. And these are kind of pressed on. You just can pull them off carefully. I just noticed here that there's more of this. So there's actually on the figure there. So it doesn't come open in the package. Because what happens is these figures will, I'll show you exactly what happens because that's part of the game. When you do this is that it... That's particularly how they work. And how they work is their head comes. This is a strike here. This is very, very similar to, of course, as I was mentioning, karate fighters. When you hit them in a particular area, they would open up. And, of course, what they've done here is to make sure, and you're going to need and this one has it as well. You see the little thing there. I am putting a knife in here. I got to find... because I really can't get scissors down in there, so you have to use a knife that's pretty sharp so you don't put too much pressure on the figure, even though the figures themselves can take some abuse here, obviously. But then you have to take this off. I think that could have been done a little better. It's kind of a pain. But again, here we go. If you hit the figure in the right way, it splits open, and that means that figure has lost. You could say he's been hurt or killed. It's the same thing here. And now what's different, and then when you want to reset it, you push the figures together here. And then you just lock together. Now, what's different about the figures is basically the weapons they have. And that means you're going to have to strike your opponent in a different way. So I still have that on. These just press on here. I believe there's a yeah, here we go, a little arrow on here. I'm not sure what the, okay, arrow to arrow, so that there's an arrow here, and there's an arrow, oops, and there's an arrow on the figure bottom there. The figure stand. You should be able to see that there. Get it in focus properly. That's going to go on here where there's another, it's hard to see with the camera in the row, there. Okay, oh, there's the actual arrow there. Turn this off because it's a little annoying right now. I'm trying to do this. That's where the off switch is, again, on the bottom there. Okay. So let's see here how this actually works. So, yeah, you put arrow to arrow here, and then it clicks right in. And it's a little, I mean, you got to look for that arrow, and it's not going to just press in. You got to have arrow to arrow, or you're not going to get the figure to stay in there. And it's the same thing here. There's an arrow here. It's right behind the figure, right back between the legs here, you'll see that arrow. And that has to line up with the arrow here. Now there's an arrow right here. So it has to be arrow to arrow, and then if you do it right, it just presses right on. And now you're back in business here. Now, as I said, this has these kind of half nunchucks. I'm not sure if you call those nunchucks or not, but they're more like maces. And of course, this guy has a what you call that per se, but he's just, oops, see, when you move the head in that direction, because that's what you're doing. Then you put him back. So when you strike each other, that's what you're trying to strike. So he's trying to get in there, so he strikes your head. And you want to move in there, and okay. And you're trying to strike his. Hard to do this from a distance here, but that's what you're trying to do. So, and then you get in there and you're going to be fighting like this. You know, very much like Rock'em Sock'em. There we go. This guy hit his head with the shield, and then, of course, knocked him out or killed him, however you want to look at it, that way. So then just start again. You can put different figures in depending on how you want to play the game. There is complete rules and how to do it that come with this. I'm not going to demonstrate that. That's a whole nother demonstration. If I may get into that in a different video, but this is basically to just show you the basic setup. Now, be careful with all that stuff. Make sure you cut everything off or you're going to have problems. See if I can get this one to trigger. Get the robot to trigger. Well, it shouldn't be that easy, because if it just 1, 2, 3 easy trigger, well, then that wouldn't be much of the battle. So you have to do it. You have to move your pieces around and so forth to make sure you get into the right area, because you want to hit the figure in this area here. That's what hits. So you got to hit the head and knock it back enough so it triggers it. So that's good. I mean, I think that's good design to actually do that. And of course, if you lose, you can always put in another figure that's a little bit different. Now, here is, let's see, that's the back. Here we go. See how that looks here. This apparently goes in here. Let's see how this works. This is the card that fits in. Let me see how that works per the instructions, just to be double sure. But you're going to have some background. This seems to be the background for fighting. I would think. The other one is a training background. You see this here? I don't know, let's make sure we show that better. So this is a training background. This is the actual fighting background. And I want to see how that actually inserts. Let's take a look at the instructions here. Okay, let's put the background in first. Now, on the side here is a slit. So this is where the slit is, where you insert the card. Now, the other side does not have a slit, so it's on the right side. And this is basically the arena for a fight. Now, you can switch this around and put this here when you want to just do practice, and we'll talk about it. But let's put the fight in there first, and let's show you how we do that. So, make sure I've got a good picture of that. So, it's just a slit here. Very simple, and it just sticks all the way in. You have a little tab here. I don't know if that's good on film or not. You have a little tab where you can pull this in and out. You pull it out, switch it over, and then you now have the actual practice area. And again, up here is your scorekeeping. And, oops, let me go up a little so we see that better. On top here is the scorekeeping. You can see how it moves down below when you move that. And there are particular ways, and it also says player 1 and player 2. Obviously, this is player 1 to the left, player 2 there, so you can see how it's going and how that person is getting into the red and losing points and eventually losing the game. But it's very easy to do that. That's kind of cool. It gives it a whole battle arena look like you're on TV. The other thing here is we can put the actual, we'll put that up there anyway, the practice bag holder, which is this. Now, and this is where the practice bag holds on to. Here's where it attaches to the machine. Let me go up here. There are 2 holes up here, and all that does is press in. And you don't have to put this up here. I mean, it is a little ugly for battles. This is to put the bag on. And the bag, you know, it's a plastic little bag like this, a practice bag. And you have these actual links, chain links. And that kind of just fits in there. Well, we may want to take this off first. Let's take that off. It'll just be easier to do that, particularly reaching in. Put it on there first, and apparently it clipped in there pretty good, as you heard it kind of clip out. So you push it down in, and that's it. There doesn't seem to be any clicking or noises, but this again then gives you the capacity to practice with, which is kind of cool. So again, you can kind of course, you can play against yourself like we just showed here. As you said, there's where it attaches on the top. Here goes the bag down, and you'll see how there's a little hook here that you put the chain link through. Let's see if we can get a little, yeah, there we go. You can get a pretty good picture there. And then it hangs down. Of course, you can adjust the hanging if you want. It does seem like the first link is probably best for practice. And then you can do this. Now, what you have here all the way around is the fact that you have a lot of movement here. There's a whole bunch of actual movement from the actual, let me get this turned off here. So you can move quite a bit here. And that's another thing to note here. You can go all the way here, you can go all the way back, you can go all the way forward. So you have quite a bit of flexibility here when you're actually fighting an opponent here to get out of the way, get in the way. So there's quite a bit of flexibility here, which is nice. and something that the older fighting karate toy didn't have that I remember. It's been a long time. But you have this, and as I said, you can practice this way, find out how your weapon works, how it makes contact, depending on what that weapon is. If you're here, what does that happen? And of course, the same thing here. So you have quite a bit of actual back and forth here. That's really nice. You go this way, and they both do that. You can pull it out. So, I mean, that's quite a bit of flexibility. That certainly is nice. So let's look at the other thing here. I showed you the battery compartment. And let's see, they say there's anything on the back here. Yeah, this is kind of nice. This is a removable compartment here where you put your figures on. So you can store your figures in here and then put them in back here. So that's kind of nice because, you know, it's always nice to have lots of figures, and I'm sure I've got some on order right now. And let's see if that in any way holds a little better, but it's so hard to do this. And this just pushes back in. It also kind of holds a card here, so you want to keep that in mostly because it doesn't seem like the card itself doesn't seem like the card itself slides into anything in particular. And so slide in the bottom there. Let's pull this out and just kind of look at it. As the card slides in here, we know we have that in right, and it just kind of goes across here. And of course, I guess this is what then holds it in a little better, and that just presses in up against it. But you put your figures there, and I'll probably demonstrate that in a minute or two. What happened there? I put it in backwards. So it doesn't seem like it's holding too well. Oh, it looks like it okay, it goes under here. Okay, this kind of was falling out here like this. And here is where the card goes across. So it does kind of hold it in there. There is a little feet here. You'll see here the little feet, and that's on each side. And there is a little channel here. So those go underneath, and this kind of presses in, and actually it goes in very tight, which is good, because then it holds this card in really tight. So it doesn't fall out like you just heard there. And let's pull the figure off here again, just kind of while we're doing that. And all you do is pull it off, and of course be careful, this is all plastic. Just don't treat it like it's metal or roughly. But this goes in here. This is where your figures can actually sit. It doesn't look like they in any way, they don't press in terms of staying there. But that's almost like, I guess you could call that a backstage. Removable stand is what they call that. So that's a stand where you can, you may want to take, you may want to take that out and put all your figures on that and put it to the side here. Two for you, two for whoever you're playing against. That is totally up to you. Let's look here. We got that card going. And, you can see how it shows you that. It also shows putting the bag in here, which I have done in the actual front. So everybody can kind of see that. Here's the plate in the back where I was just talking about, and there's your on and off switch, which is in the back. There's the plate that holds the player, and it kind of slips in and keeps, and is tight there. It shouldn't fall out. It shows you how to set up the trainer, which I just showed you. And of course, it shows you how to align the actual arrow here, how it's aligned, and you'll see the other alignment. Shows you the bag setup. I guess you're supposed to put the card in a little bit later. Shows you how the two figures go there. There's the on and off power switch, which is on the back, which I'll show you in a minute. And of course, it goes into the official rules of how you play and how the number works, etc. Now, again, this is a battery-operated item. Now, in terms of controls here, without getting into all the details of how it actually works one against another, they do have different ratings, and you can read that. I think it's just going to be confusing for me to show that. I may do another video that shows you actually how the game works. This is more an assembly, getting it going together, but I mean, you really only have this one hand. All this handle does, it doesn't go sideways, or it just goes back, back. That's it, which triggers the actual arm movements. So it spins your figure. There's no way to kick your legs. There's no way to kick the arms, which the karate fighters had. But you just have a spin, just about a spin, and it's all set up to for your particular figure and the weapon it has to do that. So that's it. The only thing you can do here is take this off and use another figure, which is going to have different capacities depending on its actual the weapons it has and how it's set up. So each figure has a little, if you look at them, will have a particular type of bonus. So, because if they have certain weapons, well, these tend to and of course, you move it from here as well. You could move it, but when you're fighting, you're moving it and using it at the same time. So this allows you to go in and out, like all of that kind of stuff. But you probably want to hold it like this so that you can go in and out and swing at the same time. I mean, they're showing different movements here: power up, attack combo. Not sure what they mean by that. We're going to have to experiment with this to find out. But those are really not any kind of, unless it's having some sort of effect inside the machine where it's triggering stuff. These also tend to troubleshooting. So if there's a problem with sound or something, it may be that this is not on correct enough. And I guess maybe there is some sort of connection to the sound there. When you actually use it. So I'll probably have to make another video to go into all the bits and pieces of this that once I learn how to use this better. But it's not really all that complicated. I mean, these do apparently, you have to be careful here. I'm not sure how they come off, but these can pop off, I guess. Okay. Always sounds terrible when that happens. So these can pop off, and I just popped that off. And I'd be very careful there. It doesn't feel like it's all that strong. These pop off. I guess you can change these to a certain degree. I don't know if the other sets, they all come with these kind of things, but I don't know if you can change that. That's on here. This is particularly for the arena. And then, of course, this just goes back on. And these have to be seated on. There we go. These have to be seated on correctly, I'm assuming, to get the sounds right. So, again, let me look through this. And as I've mentioned, of course, there's batteries at the bottom there. You see the battery box. I've shown you that. Those have, what are they saying here? Double A. Let me look on here, see if it says that. Yeah, 3 AA batteries go in there. So, they came with the unit. I don't know how long these will last, but, you know, you probably should have some of those in backup if you're going to need them. And, of course, the on and off. Let's go back here to show you how to set the game again. It's on off right now. There's the on. And you heard it says AKEDO, and of course that's the music. It's supposed to sound like a video machine. A few people have had that. I guess the home games have that, but it's supposed to be like an arcade machine. And that was the repeating of AKEDO over and over again. We get the figure again, and then we want to look, and again, we're going to put this figure back on there, and you can see there it is, the actual arrow. If you can see that too good or not, it's kind of hard, but then you grab your figure, and of course you line it up with the actual arrow that's on here, which is right over here. You'll see, you'll see the arrow right over here, so you get the arrow that's on the figure, and you line these two up and press them together, and that's it. Now you're ready to go. Now this can be taken off. It can be put up, I guess, like this to get it out of the way. If you for the practice thing, this could be pulled off. You can take the bag off if you want. Apparently the bag goes back and forth as well. Let me show that. It's kind of interesting. Oops. There's a little hook on here, and it doesn't stay on too well. I could see that being a problem in the future. Very cheap plastic, and it's going to be easy to break. But this has a little. See if we can get a better picture of that. Let's turn that off at the time. It has a little thing that goes back and forth, so you can adjust how far out it goes. That's the maximum, which I'm assuming is what you'd want to keep it at. But if you want to move it in out of the way, I guess you could do that. But it's still kind of in your way if you're fighting. And again, this is your these are your scoring movement tabs here. When you move these, you move the score there, which shows the level that a person is losing, or the scoring, etc. Again, here, these are just that. As I said, the only movement this little knob does is that's it. It doesn't go back and forth. It doesn't go up or down. The actual, you can move this, though. And the only way you can do that while you're in battle here, you can't do this because if your hands are here. So you pretty much have to put your thumb here and, let me show that, and your hand like this here. So you're holding it pretty much like this so you can go in and out with it and trigger, because you want to be able to fight and move at the same time. And the only way you can do that if you have your hand holding this here. And you can see that there's a kind of a little holder thing there. So you put your hand like this, and you put your thumb over this so you can constantly trigger it. And then you can go and move it around and go in and go out, etc. But if you try and do it from here, it's very awkward. That's not the correct way to do it. You're going to have to hold it here, go in and out, or, work with yourself. Find out the best possible way that works for you. But that's really the only way to be able to. And, when you're fighting with this, the key to it is being able to move it. You got to go in and get to the right spot. You got to figure out your weapon and say, well, how am I going to be able to hit this guy in the head? And, you got to get into certain areas to do that. And you're not going to be able to do it if you're just doing this, and you can't really spin too well that way. So you want to hold it here, move it around so you can do all sorts of things, and trigger it whenever you want to. Because it doesn't mean that you're just flailing all the time like this and moving in and out. Maybe you want to go in for a strategic hit. And they're going to be doing the same thing. So, you got to go against that. So you're going to have... So he got hit again. And you can see here what happens when you score a point is that the person opens up like that. Now, all you got to do here again, just to demonstrate it, is you just press it together and then press the head down. You can see there's a little catch there. Now the head will not come off. But what you're doing is you're trying to get the head struck like that. So when you strike the head in that fashion, it means that the figure will now score a point against it or kill it. Now, this is the same situation with the, I guess you'd call this kind of a robot